Nothing like a little frontier town to warm your heart back to the days gone by. Not really, no, just kidding. Guys, my name is Ezilii. Thanks for watching. I'm back. I haven't played Cities Skylines in forever. I've been off doing things crazy, like the Crew RP and all that stuff. Yeah, some GTA roleplays consumed my life, and guess what? Now our time to relax. But I've actually recorded this when I've been very sick, so apparently it takes getting sick to get back into some City Skylines. But welcome. And if you've watched any of the videos on my channel, you'll probably know that Robbins Valley, that sounds starkly familiar. It is. I'm recreating kind of Robbins Valley. So what happened was the other series, which I think is like maybe at best 5 episodes, and then the game, it wouldn't load. And obviously that's happened a lot to my series. And so what I'm going to do is not install DLC and see if it helps, and just use all the mods to make things cool and stuff. Especially if something comes out between now and the time I finish this. Anyway, what we see on screen is I'm starting to lay out and build what I'm referring to as the Frontier Museum. One of the first places citizens occupied in Robbins Valley. And I'm not quite happy with this cobblestone. Like, the cobblestone looks good. I just don't know if it's telling what I want to tell. So I'm looking for ways to dirty it up. You know, ironic, right? Like, let's dirty it up. But that's, you know, that's the detailer in you. It's got to look lived in, right? I do not settle with this road, as you probably saw in that little opening sequence cinematic type thing. There'll be another one at the end that kind of shows off some more of it. But we're gonna do these time lapses. I'm probably gonna experiment with a couple other formats, maybe dive into some live play. I thought about just vocalizing as I build, but sometimes that doesn't quite work out when I'm detailing. That might be saved for a live stream over on Twitch. But now I'm kind of like, it's got to be dirty. It's got to look at it. I put down that one road, and then it's like that color on the gravel road, like the tracks that you're in, drive me absolutely bonkers. But guess what? The pedestrian road from Network Extensions 2, fantastic. Now I just got to take away the street lights in the middle and call it a day. And suddenly, we have ourselves a frontier town. I think it looks pretty good. And then obviously towards the end, I have to layer on some decals to make it not look as consistent. That's the word, consistent. So the idea is that this town started here, kind of in the foothills. I'm calling it Robbins Valley, but I haven't named the mountains. So if you guys have maybe one mountain range on one side and one mountain range on the other, we can name those mountains. So this was a mining town, and it went boom. It was a boom town, and then it went bust. But not necessarily bust as in no one else lives in the area. They relocated because of the rail line. What we won't see, and I'll probably show in a later episode, is that there's a mine near this town that I placed after I built the town. Because there has to be a reason for them to be here other than water. I also relocate the highway, but I don't include it in this. It was just the highway as I built it for the map, and then I just relocated it. I'm trying to figure out how to make that look like you can get to it, and I still probably need to go get some wooden steps, because obviously you can't step up that high. But these assets are on the workshop, especially if you search for Wild West and Frontier and Old West, you should find every single one of these. I do have a collection going. It's not everything that I'm using right now, and I want to solve that before I link it below, but it's I do have a collection. Some of them, if I don't place them, I'm going to take them out of the collection, which is part of the charm. So right now the asset library is about 3,100 or so, and I'm able to, if I don't have the DLC installed, I have plenty of room to have workshop content. It's nice. So I found this little hitching post, and so I'm just gonna place them down, and like there's got to be some sort of square, and then I was like, I don't know if they would have a horse statue in a frontier town or ghost town yet, right? And they would, however, have a place to hitch your horse in the center of town, especially if that is a courthouse or some sort of, government building. There's a couple banks. I'm using a pre-war set for the housing that kind of matches. And I mean, aside from the air conditioner, which I think I cover one, and then I'm also, in my head that this is a museum, so maybe it's they have some stuff on display, like here's how they did this, and here's how they did that, and you walk through the houses, right? But they have the AC to help keep it cool. In my head, I have this kind of set in a valley in California, not near the ocean, or like New Mexico, Arizona possibly, but not so far into the desert that it's red. So it would certainly have a town like this where it did start, and then it probably had to migrate. So my story is that it migrates because of the rail line. Now, towards the end, you're going to see an old, engine barn and some rails, and those rails are abandoned. And the story in my head is they were running the line out, but it was just so inefficient that the railroad decided, and this is where railroading comes in, that they weren't going to service the location here anymore because it was inefficient. I mean, I guess, maybe. I don't know. But it's nice, I think, that I took the opportunity to find these assets and make this little bit of town. So I have the parking lot there. I'm considering it like a national park. And then, okay, how do I make this stuff? Probably about episode 3, 4, maybe even 5. Maybe 5 I'll do like real-time walkthrough and like show off some of the detail. I don't know. I've done these things before where it's a time lapse and then some real-time stuff and then time lapse. We'll figure it out. I like to play the game. I like to right now with being in the world in the state in which it is with COVID and the George Floyd stuff. Playing solo and recording was far more beneficial to my own psyche than doing this over on Twitch live. Lately, I've been all roleplay on my Twitch channel, and I mean, I like it. I might release some of the roleplay video stuff over here. Started a firefighter character. Some of that's pretty cool. Becky, who's a cop, I don't know. I felt a whole lot better a couple months ago, but not current. And then Kathy. I'm looking for a house or like a structure that would be a museum. And then I ended up with the engine shed or the engine barn. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we'll just have some tracks. And then I was thinking in my head, how and why does the town move? Like, why would you relocate this town? Why would you migrate? So I mean, we might even build right next to it. But the idea is that they moved for the rail line and they left this here to be derelict, and then someone came by and cleaned it up and turned it into a museum. And I'm futzing with the tracks right now. Like, can I get these covered and still look cool? And turns out, no. Not currently. So, joke's on you. And then I realized they're crooked. Son of a biscuit. But I mean, they should be, right? Humans made them, right? They can't be square. If they're too straight and narrow, then it looks very fake. And if that's and then I still have the problem, so I'm like, I guess it's not me. The new Move It Cuboid. Thank you for the new Move It. I'll show off some tutorials and tips and tricks, but I'm just kind of using Move It to nudge these in place. And those of you that are new to Cities Skylines, definitely give you some of my tricks. So right now, Move It's allowing me to at least finagle this to see if I can get them to not have warped. What are those? Railroad ties? I'm like, maybe we'll just do a 90-degree and use even more of it. And like, okay, well that kind of works. And then I'm like, I really like those tracks, but we got to cover this up. And I was thinking, man, I could have a steam engine, which I haven't found on the workshop. So I might redo that search again, because if you search steam engine, you don't really get it. So maybe in the series we take this this abandoned track part and we clean it up later. And then we put one of the old steam locomotives and some of those train cars in place. I think that'll be that. I think we just came up with a brilliant idea. So now it's like, okay, it's a park and a museum now. Got to add some things. Eventually, I found some park ranger vehicles on the workshop, and I added them. I don't know if this is a quote unquote national park, but it certainly says park ranger, and it's definitely a park or a museum. Maybe it's both. Who knows? I do have a goal. This might be silly of me, because YouTube and streaming are definitely difficult to marry together. I find, if you obviously don't have the time, but I'm in a position now I could probably do more recording and not sweat the other stuff that goes with content creation. But my goal is to drop one of these weekly. I don't know which day, probably a Friday morning, because I'm taking Tuesdays and Thursdays off from stream to work for the Crew RP community. But that sometimes doesn't take all day. And right now the Crew RP has a queue at night, so unless I make plans to get into the server, I'm not playing any video games, or at least I'm not role playing. But I am playing Cities Skylines. But now I've already moved the highway. I don't think I show putting the park ranger cars down. This is the trail from the mine to the village. There's the mine. But you don't really get to see it. It's not in the cinematics. It's just kind of here. And then I spent some time looking for a little wooden boat dock. Now, there are a few in the workshop, but I figured that they would have abandoned it, and it probably would have just rotted away. But the idea with the boat dock was they would take the material from the mine and get it down to the boat, and then it would ship it off to market. Oh, I do show this. Okay, so those are the two park ranger vehicles. I do have 3 of them. I took the rest out of the pack. Noob Ninja? I don't know. I'll look up that name and show them when I show off the other vehicles for the other parts of the city, and get you guys a link. But they do a good job, because they'll even tell you, hey, if you don't want all of these vehicles, you can find it in this folder. Go delete the ones you don't want. And that, my friends, is a pro tip, because you don't need all of them. You just need some of them. And vehicle packs can be massive. And until next time, here's our cinematics. That kind of snuck up on me. But yeah. Here's our little town that could. So I'm using cinematic camera, and just placing a couple of points down. But yeah, here's our little museum. You can see the detail in the street where I layered some decals to lighten and darken some of that mess, so it's not as consistent. But yeah, this is it. I'll let the cinematic carry us out. If you liked this video, give it a like, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. If you want to see new content and all that good stuff, it really helps the channel. And I'll catch you next time. Stay safe, stay well, don't let anyone drive you crazy, and yeah, go out there and kick ass and take some names. Till next time, my name is Ezilii. Thanks for watching.